Welcome to Coast of Maine's Growing Good podcast, where we explore impactful stories that showcase the positive influence local garden retailers can have on education, local communities, and environmental awareness. Hi, I'm Cameron Bonzi. I'm the VP of Marketing with Coast of Maine Brands, and I am here with one of my favorite people, Nancy Dubrule of Natureworks Garden Center. How are you tonight?
I'm great. I'm very happy. You know why I'm happy? Because I ate tonight kale, spinach, and parsley that I picked right before the ice storm the other day. And I cooked it tonight. And I was like, I'm so happy that I
So
can still pick food. It was under, it was under road covers, but I still picked it, and that's my passion is.
And where did that passion get created?
Well, it's interesting because went to UConn for teaching in liberal arts, dropped out and ran into gardeners, like old Italian gardeners and all these gardens. And I was like, whoa, met people in the ag school. And I'm like, this is what I want to do. And everybody that knew me was like, what? Are you kidding me? And I'm like, no, I just want to grow food. But as the time progressed through ag school and graduation and jobs, I ended up in ornamental horticulture, but I always had a love of growing food. And it wasn't until I got married 20 years ago and moved to Middletown, where I have this big old yard in full sun, that I was able to start growing food seriously. So to me, right now, growing food is like, it's everything. And to watch young people come back to this, like during the pandemic, especially with people coming back to growing food and wanting to know, like, are you really organic? And how do you teach us? And blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, I'm realizing like this was my original passion. And now I'm semi-retired. I sold my business to my employees and I'm part-time growing food in my own yard. It's amazing. It's so fun. It's like, to me, it's the most important thing you can do. Food,
It,
herbs, flowers,
you're one of the reasons why it's happening, right? In that you know that the passion of people, and that's what I was talking about, your passion, that passion, that drive to say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to at least do it for myself. And then your ability to actually communicate with others. You do so much communication. You were doing videos a long time ago. You do talk about some of the classes that you do.
Well,
What's
I mean, I love to teach. I've always loved to teach. So I do classes. I do a weekly email. We do Facebook Live. We do videos. We do whatever, whatever, it takes. What mattered was you're giving people information that they can't get anywhere else.
as we have been in this business and we've answered a lot of questions, and there's more questions now. People are very curious, but they also feel like they have to have every single answer. And in reality, the earth is the earth. It figures out how to take care of itself if we treat it right.
Yeah.
And so we're in, and it's what we try to do with our compost blends is make them properly, make sure that they are cured and healthy. You use them in your backyard. It's going to help with that plant and the communication with everything else that's going on in the earth, right? And that plant's going to learn how to take care of itself because you did the right thing. It's that simple.
The biggest question that beginning organic gardeners say is, I can't produce enough compost. I'm like, well, you can buy it. They're like, I can buy it. I'm like, yeah. I mean, we're not talking about, dehydrated cow manure. We're talking about a high quality compost
Yes.
made by a company that pays attention to all of the pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah.
And there is no comparison, so, I mean, when I garden, I have 18 raised beds, 12 by 3, 12 by 4. I have a ridiculous amount of raised beds because my soil is heavy clay and I love to grow food. And the soil has been in there for a while, but every time I plant, I have a bucket of Coast of Maine compost next to me.
Yeah.
And I don't mulch much. I mean, I mulch, but I don't like turn over the soil. I don't rototill. I just like fork it up. And then, or if I'm doing tomatoes, I poke a hole in, throw some compost in, bury the plant, plant it. I mean, it's simple because this is the essence of life.
It is simple in a lot of ways. It's also can be very complex. And people like you who have the knowledge and the calm and be able to say it is simple. So with the vegetable gardening side, what's your single favorite vegetable to grow? Do you have one?
Well, the easiest vegetable on the planet Earth to grow, in my opinion, is escarole. And I'm married to an Italian, and he calls it scarole, and I can't say it the way he says it. But I gave him, he's from the Puglia region of Italy, his family is, and I gave him 3 books for Christmas. And he found the recipe that his mother used. So 2 nights ago, I bought organic escarole from Whole Foods because I don't have any. And I followed the recipe, which is the simplest recipe on the planet Earth. And he kept saying to me all week, he's like, that was it. That was it. That was it. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is the easiest green to grow. No cabbage moths, no white flies, no row covers, no nothing. It takes the cold. It doesn't matter if it's summer, So, and people like, they don't even buy the seeds because they don't even know what to do with it. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's like the easiest because I can grow lettuce, but in the heat, it's too hot, and I can grow kale, but it gets the cabbage worms and I got to cover it. And I can grow Swiss chard, but it gets leaf miners and you've got to cover it, and on and on it goes. But here's a plant that nobody grows. It doesn't require any covering, and it doesn't get bugs. It's like, so weird, huh? Crazy.
It's interesting too, because at one point earlier we were talking about how simple it is, but then in that little riff that you went on, there's some complexities with each plant and certain things, and understanding how your plant is potentially going to react that's where people come to you for information, right?
Well, we do this thing called Seedy Sunday, which we're doing
Oh
in
yeah, I love
February,
that.
right?
I was
I
looking.
think we're doing Seedy Week. We're doing like 9th, 10th, and 11th this year because there's so many people that want to come. But I stand there and people want to like plant tomatoes and spinach and lettuce and Brussels sprouts and kale on May 1st. And I'm like, no, 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 you don't. Cool crops, warm season crops, start it ahead, don't start ahead. And for somebody new, it's like, oh my God, I just want to grow my own food. They have no idea. So you have to like hold their hand and say, don't worry, it's okay. Like it might take you a couple of years to understand it, but let me just tell you like 3 things you can grow right now and how to do it, because you weren't born with this information, how to grow food. I grew up in Hartford. We didn't ever grow food in my house. We didn't have a garden. There was no gardening going on in my world. So, I wasn't born with this information.
No,
If I can do it, anybody can do it. I didn't have a garden until I was 20, you know.
I know so many people who didn't. I mean, I didn't know anything about gardening. I didn't come into this business because I was a gardener. I came into this business because I happened to produce a gardening television show um, with Paul Tukey, but I didn't know anything about gardening. I
Right,
didn't. I mean,
right,
and
right,
so, and I'm not a gardening expert now. I think but I understand soil and I understand taking a
right.
risk.
You're more of a soil compost
Yes,
amendment expert, which is,
yes,
we need everybody.
yeah. And
Like,
it's one of those things that it's all about, hey, give this a try. It's like anything in life. It's not going to be perfect. You're going to fail. You're going to have mistakes. At the end of the day, it's going to be incredibly satisfying. You're going to know what you're putting in your body if you're eating it, and you're going to know that it's safe because you did it organically, and that's a beautiful thing.
I mean, imagine, Cameron, I married a man who didn't understand organic food. He's Italian and his mother cooked amazing food, but he wasn't in the organic movement.
Sure.
And over the last 20 years, he's so appreciative of the food that I grow, but he's also like, I mean, he was at the point the other day where he's like, I bought these like uh dried pepper flakes and they're not organic, or maybe I shouldn't eat them. I'm like, you'll live if you eat them. But it's like now he wants it, all organic. And we have a root cellar and I grew potatoes, and I'm going down the cellar and bringing up the potatoes. And he said today, he goes, any chance we have any more onions? I'm like, yes, we have onions. and he's like, yay, I mean, you don't even know how much it matters to somebody who loves food, who's never really thought about it. But
Yes,
then once you teach somebody
yes.
how important it is to eat healthfully,
Yep.
it's it's like, it's like amazing. It's so amazing.
Well, it has such a dramatic impact on us
Yeah,
physically, mentally, emotionally, and then once you have it, and also the flavor and the
yeah,
vitality, it's there.
yeah,
With Rodale and a lot of the tests that they did when conventional agriculture came in and the nutrient value of the plants over the years just dropping, and
right,
they do those side by side tests with organic gardens and conventional gardens, and it's proven. It's just real.
right.
And
I
then,
mean, do you know who Sal Viverdi is in
yeah,
Westport?
yourself.
Right. Okay. Right. So he was one of my mentors. He was a certified organic herb grower before anybody else in a greenhouse. And I mean, he's been my mentor for years. And he said to me years and years and years ago, before organic became mainstream, he said, Nancy, he goes, most people can't afford organic food. So if you're going to buy one organic thing, buy organic root crops like carrots and potatoes,
Yeah.
because the poisons that are going into the ground are going into the roots. If they're on the leaves, you might be able to wash them off, but if they're on the roots, you can't. And I've
But
had him come to Natureworks and give talks. I mean, he's just my guy. But it's like, and he said, because yes, I recognize most people back in the 90s couldn't afford organic food. It was
yeah,
expensive. So that's what I started, with everybody that I knew. I was like, okay, just buy carrots, potatoes. Like, just start with onions, like start with the root crops, and then move your way up. And eventually, it became more mainstream, which is fabulous. It's like so nice.
it's the beautiful part of it, right? It's the beautiful
Yeah,
part about how it is mainstream, and there is there's a slight difference in cost, but that difference is much smaller than it used to be. And
right.
the education, yes, there is. So you have to really look at what you're looking at online and make sure that you're truly looking at your sources. But the fact is, there is a lot of good information out there. And I do see people, all people, but also especially young people coming in with an abundance of information, not always correct, but information. I know from what I answer for questions online at Coast to Maine, they want specific stuff and they've done some research. It's not always correct and they make a lot of assumptions, but that's what you're here for too.
But what's great, and I have to say this,
Yeah.
is that, the younger generation, 20s, 30s, early 40s, that are buying homes and raising children and
Yes.
stuff, like, they don't need to be convinced. They're on board.
They're on
Like,
board.
they're already there.
They
So
are.
all you have to do is hand them the information and tell them that you're experienced.
Yes.
And, back 25 years ago, you were like, I would be giving talks and people would come up to you and go, well, I'm a chemist and organic blah, 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 and yada, yada, yada. And I know that you mean well, dear, but blah, 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 blah. And now I'm like, all these people come up to you and they're like, just tell me what to basically,
Yes.
just tell me what to do,
Yes.
how to do
Go on,
this.
do
Like,
it.
just give me the truth, because it's these people, they're petrified for their children. I
Yes.
mean, never mind global warming, which
Yeah.
if I had children or
Yeah.
grandchildren, I would be petrified of that. But they're also petrified of the cancer rates that are happening because of all the stuff that they're eating and imbibing and walking on the lawns and the blah, blah, blah. So it's like really fun to be 70 going on 71 and being in this place where you're like, hello, like, I've been doing this for 41 years and I can tell you, you don't need all these poisons. And they're like, oh, you
Yeah.
know,
That is the empowerment of that information too, and where you live, and the ability to learn something and learn a lot about something quickly, and
right.
then go ahead and take that risk. That's what I see in my kids. That's what I see in my daughter. That's what I see in my granddaughter. I mean,
Gives you hope, doesn't it, Cameron?
it gives me a lot of hope.
A
It
lot of
gives
hope.
me a
Me
lot of
too.
hope.
Yeah. I think it's going to get more and more interesting. I think things like biodynamics, permaculture, there's a like I get the Stella Natura biodynamic calendar and read all the essays in the calendar, and my friends are like, "Are you kidding me?" And I'm like, "No," because there's a lot more levels we can go to. Permaculture is also fascinating. Jared Rosenbaum, who you are sponsoring for the
Yes.
Connecticut Hort Society program, I had a long talk with him the other day. He's a young guy that's like, bringing this out to the world, as are many others. And so to me, it's like we brought it to the plate. Like, here it is. And this generation is going to take it to the next level, which is what makes me so hopeful.
You have been, and Natureworks have been a huge part of that. I'm glad that I work for Costa Maine, where Carlos Giano had the foresight to see these things.
Yeah, my man. I loved
He's the
I
man.
love Carlos, man.
He's awesome.
He was the guy who was like right there the whole time
Yeah.
when a lot of people weren't. I mean, he's in these trade shows with 99% non-organic
Yep.
vendors, and he's like, "Hello, here I am. I've got this." And the booth kept getting better and better and more exciting and more fun. And I'm like, "Yay, these are my guys." So yeah, I love it.
We're
So
running out of time because
I
I'm
can
running
see that,
short on
yes.
this, and I love the fact that you came on. I so appreciate, your passion, being a local retailer like us. Please, also the Growing Good program, don't hesitate to use it. We want
Well,
to.
I'm going to mention it to a few different groups that could
Yep,
use the help.
good.
And I don't know how many years we've been buying from Costa Maine, but we probably have broken a few records for the smallest piece of property with the most compost ever purchased.